Hey everyone, this is Sunlock24, and today we're going to be talking about another KC Cup deck. It was one of the top decks in the KC Cup, and let's go ahead and get straight into it. So this particular version, it's a Blue Eyes deck basically with a ton of back row destruction. So running 2 Breaker the Magical Warrior, whenever it's summoned it gains a counter. You can get rid of the counter and then destroy back row for free basically. 3 Dragon Spirits of White. This is basically another Blue Eyes, and whenever it gets special summon, you can choose a card that's set and then destroy that. 2 Destructitrons. This is arguably one of the best, or one of my favorite cards in Duel Links, I think. It can destroy a ton of back row, especially if you're playing it in a Psychic deck. But you're playing it in this, you just basically use it one time to get rid of the entire back row and then just win from there. You have to pay 1,000 life points to destroy a back row, but most of the time it's worth it. Then a Cosmo Brain Spellcaster, you can ditch a normal monster. I think it has to be a dragon, I'm not sure. Non-effect monster from your hand. So most of the time you ditch a Blue Eyes or you ditch a Dragon Spirit of White, and it goes up to 31 or 32, I think. And you always start out with it because you're running a trick up the sleeve. That particular skill, if you don't know what it does, is if you run a level 7 Spellcaster, you are guaranteed to draw it basically in your first hand. 2 Blue Eyes White Dragons, and then 1 Luster Dragon. For the spells, running 2 Silver Scry. It's a quick play. Special summons basically Blue Eyes, and it can also special summon Dragon Spirit of White. 1 Bingo Machine Go. You basically choose 3 Blue Eyes, and then your opponent chooses one of those 3 Blue Eyes and gives it to your hand. So you're always going to have a Blue Eyes if you get Bingo Machine Go. And then 2 Paleozoic Canadias, 2 Birthrights. The Birthrights, they bring out normal monsters back, which could be Dragon Spirit of White or a Blue Eyes White Dragon. 1 Champion's Vigilance, and then 2 Magic Deflector. Magic Deflector, if you do not know what it does, is it basically negates quick plays, if field spells, all equipped cards. Basically, most effect or most spell cards it negates. This particular card is extremely good against heroes, because I think if you're playing against heroes, this particular deck goes maybe 50-50 against heroes, depending on whether they draw the level 4 that can be destroyed by level 5 or higher monsters. Can't remember the name of it, but if they're able to summon that extremely early in the game and you don't have a Canadia, it's basically gonna go into whoever went first. Whoever went first is most likely is gonna win. Whoever has the less cards in the deck until you get a Canadia. But by the time you get a Canadia, they're gonna have a second copy of it, and then you're just gonna be completely locked out. You can get over it with a Breaker the Magical Warrior, or you can go ahead and attack with a Destructotron. But again, they usually, when they summon it, they do protect it a lot, so it's kind of tough to get over it. So it's a 50-50 against the heroes. This is an extremely good card again against heroes. It's also good. It's also good against any other deck that relies a ton on field spells. The deck overall, it's basically a beatdown deck with Blue Eyes White Dragon and back row destruction, which is, I guess, in some occasions it's good. I guess this particular person that played this particular deck and did really well in the KC Cup, I think he got lucky most of the games, and that's because if your opponent manages to summon a monster that's higher than let's say 30, 33, or 34, you are most likely going to lose the game, especially if you do not have a Canadia. This particular deck has a really tough time going against a monster that has a higher attack than any monster can be brought out by this deck. So once they bring out a bigger monster, you're basically done. If you're playing against the Silent Magicians and they manage to summon the second version, you're basically done. And overall, if you're playing against heroes, again 50-50. If you're playing against the the Dragon Hunter deck, you're gonna lose also. So it does have a ton of weaknesses, but it also does have some potential, especially if you're not playing against some of the top decks that are out there. Like I said, I believe that this person got extremely lucky, because I did play a ton of games. I didn't record that many replays because, again, I'm like really low rank, so there's really no point in showing you a low rank play. I'll show you some maybe here in a bit, but overall it's a standard beatdown deck. If your opponent manages to get a a bigger beat stick than yours, you're gonna lose, and there's really no way around it. If your opponent doesn't run a ton of spell or trap cards, then this deck doesn't really do much of anything because it doesn't destroy anything with Destructotron. With Breaker, it's just going to be a 1900 beat stick, and this thing's just going to be a 2500 beat stick, not being able to do much of anything. So let's see if I save some of the replays. Let's go check them out. And again, they're not really high level, so don't expect too much. But here's against the Yusei Fudo, and I recorded these earlier, so don't remember what was what. Okay, and I'm going second on this one. So there's a Trick of the Sleeve, which guarantees you this card, the Cosmo Brain. And let me take character lines off. Alright, so this is the guy I was talking about, Destiny Hero Decider. Once they summon that, you're kind of stuck. You really can't do much of anything other than maybe summon a big beat stick or try to attack with Breaker the Magical Warrior and try to get over it. So he can Nadius it, which I can go ahead and break her, and then I try to break the back row, and then you can attack over. That's one of your only ways out to get over the Decider, but if they have a second one, you're kind of stuck. So Tyler Binds attacks it, he gets another mask, mask goes into another hero, and I think I lost this particular game. Because again, it's like 50-50 depending on who draws the best hand. And if you see my hand, this deck tends to brick a lot. Again, how you're really playing is really high level monsters and like 4 level 4s. Well, 5 level 4s I think. And there it is. It's a loss, and again, that's one of the weaknesses to this deck is that if you don't draw a decent hand, most of the time you're gonna lose. Against Joey Wheeler, I think he's running another hero deck, I think. Or he might be running X-Sabers, I can't remember. There goes Trick Up the Sleeve again. Use that. And also another thing is, I don't know, I think I was needing way more Silver Cries. I think I might want to run maybe a 3rd copy or maybe a 3rd copy of Birthright. Because I think that the deck, I think it does need it. There's a ton of times where you have just a Blue Eye sitting in the graveyard and you can't do much of anything. And I did, over my playtesting, I did miss it a lot, I think. But also, it's kind of like it has to be somewhat balanced, because if you put it even more, then you're going to draw them early, and then they're basically going to be dead in your hand. You're not going to be able to do much of them. But mid to like late game, you're always needing another one. And I don't know if I would play this deck just at a competitive level. I don't think it would be one of my choices. I think I would go with either Dragoonides. They have a ton of destruction. That Mermail deck, that was extremely versatile. So, and you can do a ton of things with that Mermail deck, but you can sometimes brick. So that's actually a good choice. The other ones, I don't really know much. I don't think they're that great, and a single card can, especially if you're playing like against Blue Eyes, the Dragon Hunter deck is just gonna completely destroy you. Just one single card just completely obliterates you. But I don't know. I think I don't know if it's just that this deck is a plain beat stick that I don't like, or what it is. But again, I don't like this particular deck. Again, just basically beat stick. Summon Blue Eyes and then try to attack over. If your opponent gets something higher, you lose. Oh my god! And there's a magical deflector again. Magical deflector really good. I think it's an underused card. I think a lot more people should be playing it. Um, Maybe even at threes because of the way the meta is structured right now. I can negate DNA surgery, any field spell. It can negate mask change. There's just a ton of things that it can negate. I'm surprised not that many people are playing it. Let's do one more. I think hopefully this isn't the same one I just clicked on. But yeah, the people definitely need to start playing more of that trap card. It's extremely good. It does win a ton of games. They can't activate rush. They can't basically activate anything. Or if they do activate it, you just chain to it and then it just gets negated and they can't do anything else. Oh, and a trick of the sleeve if you don't have it, it's extremely easy to get. Just get Arcana at level 20 and you should get that skill. Alright, so this is a somewhat iffy hero deck. It's running this guy, Trinity, which I guess for a single attack it's good, but after that it doesn't really do much of anything because he can't attack life points directly. There's mask change, and there's again the magic deflector. Again, really good, negates mask change. And he can't attack directly again. He drew another mask change, and I did draw another magic deflector. Birthright. Birthright brings back the Dragon Spirit of White that destroys the back row. And he chains that, and I chain the gauge, and then summon the blue eyes, and then I'm just sitting with the blue eyes. And I think I hit Canadius, I Champion Vigilance, which I think in the long run I should have just let the Canadian go through. But then I think he had another Canadian in the graveyard, so I was trying to prevent the other Canadian from coming back from the graveyard. And I think this deck could benefit a lot from maybe from trade-in. Hopefully they release trade-in soon. We already have the one that sends out the level 2s into the graveyard and draws. I think trade-in should be a great addition to this deck. It'll make it a little bit more viable than what it is. I know a lot of people are complaining about it, but again, it's if you can beat a beatdown deck, it's really easy to beat, especially if you run a ton of back row, which I think this deck also lacks. It lacks a ton of protection, like Mirror Wall of Disruptions, or maybe even a third Canadian. Because I think again I was missing a third one, or I did lose to a Silent Magician deck because I had no way to get over a 3500 monster, and I think that's what this deck suffers from, especially if you don't get the Canadian, or if you don't get if you don't have a Champion's Vigilance to negate the first summon. So here it is again: 2 Breakers, 3 Spirit of White, 2 Destructitrons, 1 Cosmo Brain, 2 Blue Eyes, 1 Luster Dragon, 2 Silver Scry, 1 Bingo Machine Go, 2 Palisade Canadias, 2 Birthrights, 1 Champion's Vigilance, and 2 Magic Deflector. Overall, the things that I would change is maybe take out a Destructitron for another Silver Scry, or maybe even maybe Birthright. I don't know. I kind of want to run 3 Magic Deflectors, but again, I do have Champion's Vigilance, so I think Champion Vigilance can take the spot of a 3rd Magic Deflector. And then Breaker, I guess it's nice. This guy gets rid of the back row again, but I think I don't know if this is like kind of an overkill having Breaker, Spirit of White, and Destructitron to be able to take out the entire back row. Maybe run more Beat Sticks with instead of Destructitrons, or maybe run another Breaker, the Magical Warrior. It has a higher attack. Sure, it can destroy as many spell or trap cards, but still, I think those extra 400 could be useful. But do let me know what you would change in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and leave a like, and if you are enjoying my content, do subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.